Tonight's attendance is 222. I would now like to introduce our speaker for tonight, Lynn B. from Escondido, California.
My name is Lynn and I'm an alcoholic. And I love my shoes, I just can't walk in them. That's a girl thing. Oh, I'm so glad to be here with you. Thank you, Joan, so much for inviting me. I love this group. I love the structure. I feel safe. I feel like I will know what to do. I know where to go. Everything is available. Sponsorship. The celebration and birthdays. I mean, this was just so awesome, this lineup. And then if you watch the gentleman who was doing the cake with the candles, it reminded me of Lucy in the chocolate factory. I thought he was going to put them in his pocket or, something like that. Welcome to all the newcomers. Welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. This is so good. Life gets so good. If you never want to drink again one day at a time, we can share with you how to do that. And if you follow those certain steps and you pay attention to the 19 warnings that Bill has in the big book, to me, this is the best prevention program available right there in the big book. And he tells us, you do this, you will drink and die. You don't do that, you might drink and die. And it's all there. And so if you want to stay just right here with us, and we will point those things out with you, and we will share our experience with you. And just hold on tight, because this is the ride of your life, and it never stops. You know, the roller coaster, those turns, sometimes you're scared, but you always make those turns safely and up and down, and this is exciting. So welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. I have a really, really cool sobriety date, and I hope you like yours too, and I hope that yours, like mine, never gets to change. Mine is June 22nd, 1982. Now, that's 6 months more than June. You can tell right away when we share that I have 6 months more. It's just obvious. And we've been friends throughout our sobriety, and she's been there when I needed it the most. And I can count on June. If you have the privilege of being sponsored by June, you are blessed. Her passion, her conviction, and her heart is all in it for you. You will not be led astray. You can trust what she shares with you. Although I have a cool sobriety date, if you knew, you might think that I'm just about to levitate. Nope. Nope. So I just want to tell you a little story to eliminate some of those expectations. My new husband, we've been together for 3 years now, and we moved in together, and he had problems with my reactions. Now, this is sober 30 years. And so we were staying with a friend who goes to Al-Anon. And so Werner said, can you help me understand Lynn? And he said, what happened? He said, well, this afternoon I was telling her what I thought she should do. He said, oh, did you say should? He said, yes, you don't want to use should with an alcoholic. It's not going to go over very well. So my husband said, but I was right. And he said, that's irrelevant. Makes no difference at all. And then he said, but I just wanted to help her. He said, did she ask for help? He said, no. He said, then you don't. You have to wait until they ask you for help. He said, even if you see them make mistakes, yes, you have to wait until they ask you. So my husband is like, where did I land? What kind of a world is this? And so Kevin said, for instance, do you know about HALT? He said, no. He said, well, they are not supposed to get too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. If they tell you they're hungry, take it seriously. Otherwise, they get really cranky. And so a couple of days later, my husband and I were going to Los Angeles in the morning, a couple of hours, and halfway through, my husband said, oh, I forgot the nuts. I said, the nuts? What for? He said, if you get hungry, I have to feed you. Some kind of a pet monkey, you know? So, if you want what we have, so that's why I keep coming back. My alcoholism can make me very difficult to live with. And it's not you. It's not my husband. The blockages are in me. It's inside of me. And we have a way with the steps to remove those blocks so we can spend our life in the world of the Spirit, in joy and in peace. And it has to be done kind of every day to just keep cleaning up, because those weeds, they grow like overnight. And it's been raining for months. Woohoo! That gets real tall real fast. And so we do this together. If you're new, oh, I'm so glad you're here. And please talk to Doug or Michelle, who are responsible for the sponsorship share, and get a hold of somebody. We cannot do this alone, and I just have to warn you a little bit about sponsors. Like sometimes I want to call mine after I've explored all avenues, because they're really unpredictable. And the big book talks about we have delusion and illusions, and to this day I can believe things about me that ain't so. And of my own, I will not be able to see it. And so my wonderful husband, I met him in Switzerland when I lived there a few years ago. And he followed me down to San Diego, and we're living together for a few months. And then one day he said, you don't even want to go out with me anymore. I wonder why you brought me here from Switzerland. So I explained to him that I am a solitary person. And I spent 25 years of my adulthood as a sober woman living by myself, and there are several reasons for this. I need to be in my chair and contemplate and do my spiritual work. And so I replenish my energy by myself. When other people like you, my honey, they replenish their energy with other people. I need to be by myself. And as I speak, I just puff myself up with this. I'm kind of self-sufficient on my own, and I don't have the same social needs as most of you. And so I call my sponsor, just to inform her, and she listens to this, and she said, that sounds like laziness to me. What? I never thought of myself as lazy after all that I do. But it's when there is nothing in it for me. I didn't want to go to the Kenny Rogers concert. Nothing about Mr. Rogers. I just was not going to go. And when she said laziness, that's true. When somebody asks me to go out, I'm thinking, have to put my makeup on, change clothes, get in the car. And so as a result, I made a commitment to myself that at least once a week I go out with my husband, and he doesn't know I don't want to go. Taking contrary action. So I just wanted to warn you about sponsors. We can go without them, but be prepared when you call to get the response. And so you can tell that I need this program, right? And I've needed this program for a long, long time. I've always been filled with fear and insecurities, uncomfortable in my skin, and I don't belong. And as a child, I was afraid of the dark, afraid of the little girls. I knew nobody liked me. And it was very, very dark in my mind. I felt less than, and I could not make friends. I was always afraid of failing the exam, and you're in second grade, and you're on the top of the class, and you just spend the afternoon teaching one of the little girls about mathematics so she could pass the test, and I'm there taking the test and all nervous. It's always been like that for me. And when I was 13 years old, I went to this little party, and for girls, we bought a case of 24 beers. I was 6 each. Oh, wow. By the lake, at the chalet at the end of the year, the class reunion, and it was just wonderful. And before I was halfway through that first beer, all those feelings went away. I was comfortable in my gut where I live. I didn't care what you thought of me. Instead of being in a corner looking down at my shoes, knowing nobody liked me, we had each other with our arms around our shoulders, and we were jolly and giggly and laughing. And during the evening, I blacked out, and I went to get my last beer. They told me my best friend Susan drank it. I found Susan, and I slapped her in the face. That's not social drinking. And it was my first time out, right at the gate. I was drinking alcoholically. And I drank for 14 more years the same way. When I drank, I overshot the mark. But it was so progressive. When I was a teenager, I thought if only I had a good education, then I could be happy. And I proceeded to get a license to practice law, but I drank more. And I was getting in trouble. And I had boyfriends, but I was kind of busy with other people at the same time. And simply because I was drinking too much. And I had no ability to say no. I just did whatever was in front of me. I got very ashamed and embarrassed. And then the next day, I was afraid of seeing the people. And those boyfriends, I was lying to them all the time. And from drinking 1 day a month, I was drinking 1 day a week. Then I was drinking 2 days a week. Then it was a lunch with the girls on Wednesday. And now I know it was just so I could drink again. So now that's 3 times a week. And then it was all weekend. And my disease progressed all of its own, regardless of what I thought or of what I did. It was like that tornado, and you're in it. No matter what you're thinking, it's going to do what it wants to do. This is not a headache that we have. This is a terminal disease. This is extremely serious. And it's just a matter of time before we end up in jail or institution or in death. And so if you're new, make no mistake, we are jolly tonight and we laugh at our misfortunes and the problems that we may have caused, but this is deadly serious. The levity, do not let it fool you. This is very serious. And so I knew that I had a problem with drinking. I knew my drinking was not like other people, and I could not talk about it to anybody. I didn't have the words. And I thought, well, I'll go to California. Then I know I won't have to drink so much, but I just drank more. And then if only I had this boyfriend, I could be happy, and I got another one yet, and we drank more together. There was just no end to this. And this man was my connection to life, right? I was an illegal alien. And I was estranged from my family. I didn't have any money. I was emotionally unemployable, and that man was supporting me in that big house. And he was about to kick me out. I knew, I would go to bars by myself, and when you come home drunk from the bar at 3 a.m., there is just that many things you could be out there that were dignified. And so you have to explain where you were. And when you do it several times in a row, it's just kind of creating problems because some of these people don't have the kind of understanding that we need and we deserve. And so my life kind of depended upon this man taking care of me, and I couldn't stop. And I would come to in the morning, and I would have the shakes and the cold sweats. And I thought, oh my gosh, did we fight last night? What did we do last night? And I wasn't sure. And then my throat was parched, and the sun, and in California you get sun all the time. When you hang over in the morning and it's coming through the window, it's, oh no, not another day. Not another day. What am I going to do today? Today I'm not going to drink for sure. This is for sure, because he's going to kick me out. I have nowhere to go, no money, and I'm not going back to Mom in Quebec, Canada. Oh my goodness, today I'm not going to drink for sure. And then it's 10 o'clock. Oh my goodness, he's going to get mad again. What am I going to do with my life? There is no way I can go get a job anywhere. What am I going to do? And now it's 10:15. And then I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll have just 2 glasses of wine with the Carol Burnett show. That's how long ago that was. Now they watch Oprah, I think. Back then it was Carol Burnett. And, okay, now already I feel a little better. I'm not so nervous. And then it's noon. And I thought, well, I'll have one of the 2 glasses right now. And I'll just have the second one with the Carol Burnett at 4 o'clock. Well, of course, by 2:30, the bottle of wine is empty, and I'm on my way again, and he comes home, and I pick a fight so I can go back to the bar, and I come back again at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I come to the next morning, and today I'm not going to drink. Today, it doesn't matter. The desire, the self-knowledge, the incredible possible consequences do not come to the memory. There is a mental blank. This is what we are dealing with. I cannot trust my own mind. I thought I was solitary. I was just lazy. I cannot trust my own mind. I couldn't then, and I cannot today. In doubt, I still have to sit and ask God and call my sponsor. And I'm still in doubt on a regular basis. And so finally, one time, I kind of was drunk in a bargain, and I needed a ride home. And the man next to me just happened to be his best friend. But, when you're drunk, it doesn't make any difference. And so I was kicked out of the house. And I ended up sleeping in a sleeping bag on the floor of a room I was renting in a 2-bedroom apartment. My clothes were on the floor. And I was 27 years old. I was a broken soul. I had no self-esteem, no self-respect, no self-worth, no idea how I could do this life. I had no idea, except I had learned how to, when they say as long as you have an idea, you're not going to stop drinking. This idea I had learned how to resell Mexican tiles, and he had lots of those in that house. And so I called him up and say, I'll do your tiles for free. He said, sure. So I showed up the next morning with the chemicals and the grubbies and the knee pads, and I knocked on the door, and I got on my knees, and I started to scrub and drink, and he left. And then I got drunk in the afternoon. He came home, and then I left. And I was so ashamed of the way that I lived that night I chose to sleep in my car to make sure that roommate would not come home and see me the way that I lived. And so I drank enough forgot to pass out, and I came to the following morning, drank some more vodka, and knocked on the door. Good morning, I'm on my knees scrubbing. That day he was not going to go to work. They were going to have a party. They were going to play tennis in the backyard. So here come the friends who had attended my fancy dinners, the friend who had invited me into their homes, And they just came in and said, "Hi, Lynn," and went on to the backyard. I was not wanted that day, and I just wanted to dig a hole and hide. I was totally humiliated. And here comes that best friend with whom I had spent the night. "Hi, Lynn." Oh, my goodness. And so this was that total, pitiful, and comprehensible demoralization. And I left that house because he asked me to. And I went back to that little apartment, and I binged all weekend. And what happened that weekend was I could not get drunk from the neck up. No matter how much I drank, I could not achieve oblivion or some sort of relief from the awareness of that pitiful condition. I saw myself as I was. And so I thought, okay, Monday morning, I call Alcoholics Anonymous after drinking some beer, to settle my nerves. And the man said, "You want to stop drinking?" I said, No. I just want to learn how to have 5 or 6. It's after that I get in all this trouble. And he said, "Well, you're not ready for us. When you want to stop drinking, you call us back." And he hung up on me, of all things. Well, if you knew the day that Alcoholics Anonymous hangs up on you, it's a bad day. There is nobody else to call, see? And so in the next couple of hours, it got quiet in my head. And it had not been quiet in a long, long time. And I heard, "Lynn, you're done with drinking. There is nothing left in this for you." June 21st, 1982. And then I called back. And he said, "Great, this lady who lives in your area will call you." So Beverly called me, and we talked a bit, and she said, "Would you like to go somewhere?" And I thought, well, I'm a traveler. I love going places. And so I said, "Oh, I'd love to." And she said, "Well, pack up a few clothes, and my husband and I will pick you up in 15 minutes. And they did, and they took me to Detox downtown. So I was disappointed. But I stayed. And the miracle of Alcoholics Anonymous began for me that day. They gave me those 20 questions, and I thought, I've taken tests that were much more difficult than this. This is going to be easy. Indeed, I got 17 right the first time I took it. And he said, "You're an alcoholic?" I said, "I know." He said, "This is no joke. You really are an alcoholic." I said, "I know." He said, "What's so funny or so happy about this?" And I said, "Finally, someone is telling me what is wrong with me. I had branded myself a lot worse things than being an alcoholic. And I had no hope. I was beyond human aid. I had tried everything, and I thought I would have to die this way. Not to drink was inconceivable to me. A life without drinking was not worth living because of the way that I felt sober, because of the way I felt before I took that first drink, which was such a relief until it turned on me. And he was telling me there were other alcoholics like me who had drank the way that I did, who had lived in shame and embarrassment and fear and resentment, and now they were happy and sober. This was news to me. And so if you're new tonight, maybe it's news to you too. You're not alone. What you've done, we've done. There is nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to be scared of. You just come in here, you do what we do, and you get what we get. It's just that simple. You are not alone. This was the beginning of my isolation of the human race. That first exchange with this counselor and then with the other AA members like you who come to hospital and institutions. They saved my life. Beverly and Ron, her husband, they stayed with me for 4 hours because you had to be sober for 4 hours to stay in detox. And they did. And I asked to borrow $5. And I wrote a check, which I still have today, my last drunkard signature, and they didn't want my check. They just gave me $5. And so several months later, I sent them a letter, and with $5, telling them I was still sober. And she told me later that she and her husband had been sober for a few years, but they were mixed up with their priorities. They were caught up with money, property, and prestige, and they were not doing very well. And when they got my $5 that I was still sober, it reminded them of their primary purpose, and that they were going to buy a plant with the $5 and watch it grow, knowing that I was growing too. Ain't that cool? You know? I love sweetness. I love mushy. Alcoholics Anonymous is sweet and mushy. And you just hang in there with us a little bit and you'll be a kisser and a hugger too, you know. And where we are, we give compliments, we encourage, we touch. Most of us have been wounded, you know, and so we're gentle with each other. We tell the truth and we're honest with each other, but we're doing it nicely. Like one of my sponsees called me up and she said, Lynn, I have a problem with one of my sponsees and I don't know how to solve it, and I have her permission to talk to you about it. And so she tells me the problem. I said, oh my goodness, this is so delicate. So now this is not something to do over the phone. So you meet with her, and then when you address the subject, gently touch her arm. And if you can touch her cheek just a little bit, you look at her in the eyes and you make sure she's receiving the information, and you just tell her, just honey her. She said, oh, I know what that is. Oh, I said, great, you sponsor that way too? She said, no, but I've been honeyed by you twice already. So we don't have to hang up and use baseball bat, you know, over the head. So I just love sweet and mushy and nice and cute. And so in any case, cute was not in Detox downtown, but I'll tell you what. I heard you, and I believed you. Just to see you smiling like tonight, beautiful like you are, you're shining, you're touching with your shoulders like that, you look comfortable, you're happy. Boy, I wanted that. I so believed you. And tonight, if you knew, I hope you believe me tonight. And if not, you can feel what it is that you see. Bill said that he saw, he felt, and he believed. And it's interesting the order of the words that he chooses to explain his experience. First he saw. Look at them, hugging each other, looking so beautiful. And then he felt the joy that I'm feeling when you laugh around me. And then he believed, gosh, this is true. I do that, and I'm going to have it too. And then that's how he came to have his belief in his higher power. And so see, feel, and believe is a great way to go. And in any case, I started doing the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous right away. You know that wonderful big book, the big book. If there is only one book that you can have, let it be the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And the 12 by 12 is fabulous too. This was written many years afterwards. And Bill said that the purpose of the 12 and 12 was that they have a deeper understanding of what it is that we do. So if you can study both of them, have at it. It's great. You know, it is said that all we have is a daily reprieve based upon our fit spiritual condition. And it's not like I wake up in the morning and I say, am I fit today? I think so. It's a maintenance program. This is a program that requires action. As a result of these actions that we take daily, then I get to have the result, which is to stay sober that day. I don't ask my higher power in the morning to keep me sober. It's not his job. My job is to take the action, and the result is the comfort, the spiritual awakening, and me being able to spend a day sober. It really is the result of my action. And so I know June has been in action too. Those little feet are going all over the place, you know. Get involved and get those commitments. And what happens with commitments is that we have to be here in those days when we don't feel like being here. I remember in my 20th year, I just kind of got a little bit bored, right? And then you don't say that to a sponsor. You just don't. And so I didn't have any commitment, and I thought I'll just try out some different meetings. Now, up to that time, the first year of my sobriety, I made a meeting a day. 19 years after that, I made 4 a week. That's pretty solid. Well, with my little experiment of trying out different meetings with our commitments, within about 2 months, I was down to 1 or 2 meetings a week. And I'm still not paying too much attention to this. And then one night, on a Monday, it was raining. Well, I'll just go tomorrow. 6 o'clock Monday, 6 o'clock Tuesday, it's the same thing. The following week, it was too cold. You know how cold it gets in San Diego? And so I thought, well, I can go tomorrow. And I started counting. And I hadn't gone to a meeting in 10 days. Cunning, powerful, baffling. Self-knowledge avails us nothing. And so I went to the meeting. I raised my hand. I told them my dilemma. They were having a little election, and I became the treasurer. And on Thursday, I went to the ladies' meeting, and I became the cookie lady, and I've been in business every day since. And so this is how insidious this is. And if you have a home group, if you have a sponsor, if you're close to AA buddies, they will see it in you. I told one of my sponsees 2 weeks ago, honey, I don't hear the program of Alcoholics Anonymous when you talk anymore. And we've been with this now for close to a year. And she said, I know, I'm so rebellious. See, I wanted to chew the little worms and put it in her little beak. And she's not opening the little beak. And how much I love her. And so I beg you to not go astray, because we never know if we can make it back with that strange head of ours. And so to develop this relationship with a higher power has been the greatest thing, as much as I adore my husband, to develop that relationship. And now I'm trying to practice to sit for 3 or 4 minutes and listen a few times a day. To just sit in my meditation chair and just listen. And my husband and I, he's joined Al-Anon so he could deal with me. It's sad, the poor man. And so, and he's joined me. We do our reading in the morning, AA, Al-Anon, whatever, and then we have our timer, and 15, 20 minutes we're quiet, and sometimes the little dogs insist on being on our lap. Our God has a great sense of humor at home, and we spend that time together, and it's pretty hard to fight and stay angry when you do that in the morning. That really brings us together, and in our home we practice the traditions as well. We don't want to hurt each other, and it's a journey. You see, like in the big book it says that we can be irritable and discontent. Like we had a tree and I didn't like the tree, and I got really irritable about the tree, and it's like I can't help it. And I'm impatient too sometimes, and I don't want to watch a tree grow, so I want it big already. And the gentleman, they made a big hole and they brought the tree, and it didn't look like the one that we had purchased. So I said, I'm sorry, that's not the tree. So they went back, and then we went back, and we picked another one. And the men, they came back again, put it in the hole, and I looked at it, and it didn't look like the one we picked. It looked like it was missing a side of the tree. But I was too embarrassed to say something, so the tree went down the hole. Then during the day, I'm looking at this. Oh my gosh, this is not right. It should be round like a lollipop. This is not going to work. So I went to Home Depot and I bought some big straps to put down. To put down some of the branches, so maybe they would grow in a rounder shape. And then the neighbor comes over and says, what happened? Well, I told my husband, listen, honey, I don't want a what happened kind of a tree. I want a wow, that's gorgeous kind of a tree. And so my husband loves me, spoils me, wants me to be very happy, and he's so supportive of me, but not about the tree. So I told him, and he said, honey, it's midnight, and I was sleeping, And then it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I don't want to have to see that tree as long as I live. And so the next day, I'm going back to the salesman. I said, sir, look at the pictures. And I assume full responsibility. I cannot ask you for anything, but look at that tree. So we got a third tree. Now, my husband does not like the tree either, but he surfed it. I went out there, I hit the bottom, I had sand in my bikini, I swallowed the water. I'm an alcoholic, I'm highly emotional, I am intense. You can tell I need these steps on a daily basis so I can relax a little bit about the trees, about what's around me. And so I do not want my sensitivity, which is a handicap, according to Bill Wilson, to make me so difficult to live with. Imagine anybody who has to be so careful not to use the word should, not to apply any authority, not to offer help if they see us go down the hole. Because we get so upset and irritated and taking things so personally. And it's still, for me, a growing experiment. And I do it hand in hand with my higher power. And in the big book, it's all over the place. We are in the world of the Spirit. And if we want Him enough, He will come to us. And we will lose our fear of today, tomorrow, and the hereafter. We are here to enjoy this life once we can remove what is blocking us. And if you are new, we cannot remove what's blocking us by ourselves. We really need to do that with a confidant and someone we can trust who can show us the way. And I'm just going to tell you a little story. In 2008, I went on a safari in Africa, and there was this little school there, because you told me to be of service, right? So in the morning, that's my prayer. How may I be of service today? And it shows up in all sorts of wonderful ways. And so I'm on this safari, and aside from animals, we saw this little Maasai school. Very, very poor. And everything in me said, you got to help them. You got to help them. So I got in contact with the principal, came back to the States, and started a charity, 501c3. And I got a chance to go live in Switzerland. This is to show you God working in our lives. I went there in 2012, and I was working for this international company, and I went to them, and I said, would you help me with my charity? And they asked me some questions, and they said, wow, that's pretty exciting. We would love to write an article about you in our magazine that we send to all our thousands of employees. I thought, wow, that's great. So there's a little picture, a little story, and there was a retiree from that company who received the magazine at home. And liked the work that I did in Africa. So I got this email, may I help you? Sure. So we sat down for lunch 2 weeks later, and the man of my dream. Well, he's the one who's going to Al-Anon now to learn how to deal with me. But This is what had to happen for us to meet. And I can tell you stories after stories like this. Before I left for Switzerland, I was saying, well, I need 3-bedroom, and it's very expensive over there. If you get 2-bedroom, you're going to be lucky. Well, I need a little yard for the dogs. Well, forget about having a yard for the dog, and I'm going to need a doggy door. You can't just move there and ask an owner to make a hole in the wall for your dog. You're going to be disappointed. Well, I got there. And finally, I met with a real estate person, told her the criteria, and she took me in. And before we left, I said, I think we're going to find it today. She said, Lynn, this might take months. We have time. I said, no, I think we're going to find that today. So she showed me 3 apartments, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is depressing. And this was like above average already. Oh my goodness. And there was one house. And I imagine it would be all dilapidated, right? So we get in the neighborhood and thought, my goodness, this looks like where I lived in San Diego. That's beautiful. We drove up that little street, and all the beautiful homes around. So, my goodness, that's not possible. And we ended up at the end of that cul-de-sac, and there was the house with hedge, very tall, closed all around. And this is the house. We opened the gate, parked. The landlord comes out, and I said, my goodness, is this completely enclosed for dogs? She said, yes. I said, that's the house. And this lady said, what a cat. I said, yes, this is that. You haven't seen the inside. That's a house. I got goose flesh. I know this is not a guy thing, but for the girls, if we get goose flesh, that's a God thing. Really. And so I got out of the car. I walked up the little stairs, and what was at the bottom there by the sidewalk? The doggy door. The doggy door. This higher power loves little dogs too. Because in my home, we had little dogs that were once homeless, unwanted, abandoned, starving, and this higher power stooped enough to save them and find them homes. So he's going to find homes for us too. And so to me, they're like miracles. And we hear about miracles in the program often, and we have several definitions for them, but my favorite is that coincidences in which God chooses to remain anonymous. Don't you like that? And so what I try to do when I hear someone say, that's a miracle, or if I observe in your life or in my life something like that, that's a miracle. Today, I try to stop and open that window a little bit and use it as an opportunity to expand my relationship with my higher power. It's like if I eat a really tasty chocolate, then it's gone and I go on to something else, right? Instead of staying with my chocolate and really savoring it, being there with the chocolate. So I try to do that with the miracle. Stay there with the miracle from beginning to end. In your life or in mine, when you tell me a story. And to really feel that presence, the awesomeness at the work. It's beautiful. I can spend 5 minutes rather than 3 seconds in that's a miracle. And this makes me feel secure in my life. The awareness of the intricate work that this awesome Father is doing through me, out to you, through you, to me, organizing our lives that are beyond our imagination, this love that sustains us all, to know that my feet are on solid ground. Well, not so much with these shoes, but usually on solid ground. There isn't a trap that's going to open for me to fall into. We are safe and protected. It's for me to spend enough time in conscious contact with my higher power to have that awareness. If I think of God 2 minutes in the morning, how many have you have service today? And another minute at night, thank you for today. Well, that's 4 minutes of conscious contact. Do I want him enough for him to come close to me? That is my job. He's just waiting right there to open his arm and takes us in. And so this is what I do today with this little bit of sobriety, having grown a little bit, my priorities having changed, my appreciation for life and for you. I don't feel isolated anymore. It appears that my fear of people disappeared 2 weeks ago. I had a little something and I told my sponsor, she said, honey, it sounds like your fear of people hasn't left you. I said, my goodness, it never will. And I've had 2 or 3 experiences, including tonight. Someone asked me, are you nervous? And I said, no. I was so enthralled in June's story to me with our conversation. And I walked in and I just felt love and I wanted to look in the eyes and be with you. And I just forgot about what you would think of me. That's where nervousness is coming from, right? If I have a blank, they won't like me. And so to just be here with you, to be present, and that fear of people is just about gone as well as my time. Thank you so much for allowing me to share with you. I love you. Thank you.